We assure you that consciousness is far more mobile than humanity realize. Functionally and purposely you have as a species focused on the relatively narrow physical third single quote realm, since the fall of the firmament. You tend to think of consciousness as a mysterious conceptual thing. A more fitting, more accurate description of consciousness is that of a specific quality and attribute of multidimensional beingness. Each portion is holographic, meaning that each segment of your consciousness contains the wholeness of your consciousness. This is an attribute humanity as a species have forgotten, and, for past millennia, generally speaking, no longer experience. Indeed, up until the present, mankind has largely dismissed in disbelief any ideas that one can be in their material third body and outside of it simultaneously. In early phases of Earthen life, consciousness was much more mobile and readily accepted as such. As we stated above, humanity could in per duality epochs readily see and indeed be in other dimensions, with the ability to deeply interact and actually merge with trees, animals, mineral and elemental life, and experience these as subjective realms of greater consciousness and selfhood. In current times the matrix is in a gradual process of transition that allows for such experiences. And it is better that this be understood, rather than to dismiss consciousness visionary experiences as delusion. As such there are forms of life that can be experienced in the present that were not as tangible, not as visible prior to the December 12, 2012 activation of the 144 crystalline grid. Astral Life Overview. For the purposes of syntax in this channel, we are combining, mass grouping, to a limited extent, nature spirits, photonic beings, and electrical life into the category of Devics. Be aware there is something of a hierarchy, or perhaps better stated as differing levels of what may be termed as light quotient, intelligence, resonance polarity and dimensional level inhabitation among these. We also wish to restate that the astral realm has subclassification and the lower portions of the astral are duality realms. Living thought forms. Thought forms do absolutely exist in myriad formats in the astral realms, but are not Devics. Yet thought forms are valid, animated energies that have varying levels of cognition, from awareness to consciousness. Some are quite independent, others may vibrationally collate and combine by frequential attraction into group fields. Some are what may be termed as thought forms, splunt of human intellectual processes. Thoughts are electromagnetic realities and have an actual vitality and validity in astral planes. Indeed, combined thoughts of masses of humanity have actually created living thought forms of not only certain mythological demigods, but also of fictionalized characters from books that take on a quasi-virtual reality. Many of the saints you pray to and characters of myth you devote thought energy to, such as Santa Claus, are therefore created in a psychic process into a specific creative holographic reality. It may surprise you to know that your Edgar Cayce once spoke of a Shakespearean play character attending one of his classes in Virginia Beach in thought form matrix, quite independently conscious and seeking to learn. Imagine that. While these are not elemental in source, these exist in the same parallel dimensional frequency as elementals. Practitioners of what may be termed as occult sciences in various cultures have understood that thoughts can be given a form of independent identity, and can be used for what may be termed as positive or negative purposes, either deliberately or unintentionally in subjective mental dwelling or emotionally charged focus. Accordingly, There are astrally as many kinds of thought forms and shadow apparitions as there are people. These can be from living or deceased human sources. The fragments of thought forms projected from transitioned humans are as aware, or unaware, to their environment and situation, as you are to your own, depending on their transitory level of energy force. They are not fully focused in physical reality, however, either in personality or in form, and this is their main distinction from thought forms projected by humans in biology. Some such apparitions are simply residues of emotions, and others are lingering survival fragments of personalities. They are in themselves quite harmless. It is only when you react in fear to them that any misconstrued difficulty arises, but it is self-induced. Electro and photonic Liffey forms. Now, please take note. Edgar Cayce referred to some Devics as mischievous tricksters. So we tell you that it is timely and indeed prudent that you be aware of the fact that there are electrical Liffey forms inhabiting the astral planes which, in a manner of speaking, follow the physics of the electromagnetic spectrum, meaning some are what may be termed positive, and others negative. Equally are there photonic beings in the lower dimensional duality astral levels that may be termed for the purposes of this discussion as light or dark, in contraposition polarity effect. In the former electrical Liffey forms the spectral polarity effect can perhaps be better described as give and take. For certain of the negative, electrical beings are energy vampires, feeding on fear. There are in the opposing parameters of the electrical spectrum range, Devics that were labeled in the theosophical publications as malevolent, evil and demonic. These were oft called as good frees, bad frees, fukas and goblins in Celtic lore. Keep in mind the lower astral realm is a polarity realm, with duality forms of beingness in an electromagnetic field. There are unique Devic beings in this category that are capable of inducing fear, attaching to one open aura, and feeding on the fear energy. They are not truly demonic, but it is understandable why they may be considered as so. Although they can be parasitically malevolent, even sinister in effect if one fears them, they are absolutely harmless if one does not. So the culprit is the fear reaction itself. We will address this topic in greater detail later in the second part of this interesting channel, and it is indeed a fascinating topic. But we wish to be clear, there are no demons other than the ones you create. Nature spirits, elementals and divine intelligence. The varied Liffey forms which are described as nature spirits are essentially projected aspects of the air, water, fire, and earth kingdoms, mineral and plant kingdoms, which have a valid conscious dynamic expression, in etheric body format, extended from and beyond their core source, through vital vehicles of electromagnetic and crystalloelectric energy. This astral Liffey form too is hierarchical, as some of the nature spirit Devic forms are much more intelligent, much more advanced than others. Those in the higher classifications within the kingdom of Phi possess what may be considered as divine intelligence, whilst others of the Devic realm are more like the lower fields of that termed the bird or winged kingdom, in terms of having awareness within a group thought pattern as opposed to individual consciousness. The nature spirits of the Phi are spawned of the 5 kingdoms of the earth, spawned of the planet the elements, and are often referred to as elementals. The intendment of the Phi elementals is proposed for serving the kingdoms of the earth, those being water, air, fire, earth and ethereum. The higher intelligence among the elemental Phi will more willingly interact with certain humans and may be drawn to humans of a positive vibration. This is especially true of the nature spirits projected from the plant kingdom. Devics of all forms are aware of humans, especially children who have the anomalous ability to clearly see them, and, twinkling, fairy spirits may often serendipitously choose to interact with them in robust delight or joyful curiosity. But the majority are less drawn to close communicative interaction, and keep a certain distance, not unlike a sparrow or a thrush in one's garden that will fly away, or a rabbit that will rapidly dart off into cover if one gets too close. Accordingly, these of the baser realm are oft so focused on their various roles of servitude and balance, that they pay little mind to less empathetic humans, to whom they are invisible, other than to keep a wary distance. As we have stated, not all Devic forms are what you may think of as positive or benevolent in nature. Some are consciousness sourced from electromagnetic fields, and as such both positive and negative are required to balance the electrical spectrum you see. Some view mankind as kindred, others do not. Some project the vibratory essence of supreme love, others on the opposite metric of their electromagnetic range are somewhat malicious and mischievous, from your perspective. Yet both are spectra-electrical forms of bioelectric plasmic life, and in a manner of speaking, are requisite to balance one another within duality realms.